All right, everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Founders Cut. Today, I'm here with Carlton, the founder and CEO of PayRent. And just like every other episode, before we jump into what PayRent is, I like to take some time to get to know the person behind the logo. And so, Carlton, if you could just kind of walk us through how you got to where you are today as the founder of a new startup. Where were you before this, and what made you want to jump into starting your own venture?
Yeah, awesome. Thank you, Adam, and thanks for having me. I love this format and the idea that you're trying to do to promote, new founders and entrepreneurs. My background, I've been in tech and in payments for a really long time. Held several executive roles as chief marketing officer, chief revenue officer, chief product officer for companies that are larger and kind of more established and on their way from a business standpoint. I exited a company back in 2016. The CEO and I did a very good job together in scaling that business and then exiting it. And we were just always looking for something else to do together. So, I thought it was time for me really to just step out and, start a company of my own. I've been helping other companies to grow and thrive for a lot of years. And I didn't want to I didn't want to end my career without stepping up to the plate as a startup founder and an entrepreneur. So that's why I'm here.
And so let's jump into what you're actually building. The company is called PayRent, and I could take a stab at it, but I want to let you speak from your perspective on the problem that you're solving.
Yeah, we started the business back in 2020, and we thought, this is a really fragmented space. There's a lot of landlords out there. There's 11 million independent landlords out there that have 5, 50, 100, some of them as much as 1,000 units. They're owning and operating these large portfolios. And, they depend on this income for their livelihood, like to pay their bills or to fund their retirement or any of those types of things. And so when COVID hit, and rent just like stopped, I mean, it caused a lot of suffering. It caused a lot of suffering for renters. It caused a lot of suffering for these small independent landlords. And I began to look around and see that there was actually no real platform that easily solved that problem for the renter and the landlord. So I have experience in payments. I have experience in building software. And so I thought, this is a really good opportunity for us to step up and actually have an impact on people's lives in a positive way, not just to build a software platform, but really to build a platform that has financial tools in it that improve the well-being of everybody that's involved. So that's what motivated us to start up and build PayRent and to build the platform that we have today.
Yeah, I love the idea of seeing an opportunity from something that no one could have foreseen. And so, correct me if I'm wrong, this idea came after you saw the downstream effects of COVID and the moratorium on rent payments.
Yeah, I mean, it was a like you said, it was like serendipitous, right? It's like we started the business because we saw a fragmented market, and there are lots of customers available in this space, and 72% of them still collect checks and cash. And so we originally thought, hey, this is a good business to get into. We can start the business just right from scratch, and collect rent and help them just streamline their payments. And that was about 3 months before COVID hit. And so when COVID hit, that's when we became really aware of the real problem in the market, because collecting rent and managing your property through software, that kind of exists today, and there are solutions for that. But none of those platforms actually helped to bridge that gap when rent got disrupted. And I think the important thing to note here is that we became aware of it because of COVID, but it's always existed. 1 in 5 renters every single month worries about paying rent. And it doesn't matter whether COVID or not, it has to do with how their cash flows. There's a lot of gig workers and a lot of weekly income people, and rent is becoming a bigger and bigger percentage of their paychecks. So, they need flexibility. They need to be able to pay on a schedule that works better for them. And frankly, landlords aren't in a position to do that And so we are bridging that gap between what a renter needs from a cash flow standpoint and what a landlord needs from a cash flow standpoint.
So walk me through a use case. If I am a renter, let's say I'm part of that, 1 in 5 that has issues or concerns about paying on time every month. What are you offering to the renters themselves that's showing this tangible benefit that you're solving for?
Yeah, so we have made it easy we've embedded some financial products in our platform that make it easier for renters to borrow emergency cash if they have a good on-time payment history, and to enroll in a flexible payments subscription on our platform, which we've made very inexpensive. So for $20 a month, they can choose which 2 days of the month they want to pay rent on. And then we float the money to the landlord on the 1st. They pay us back on the 5th and the 20th. And we've integrated that into our user experience. Now, we don't take that liability on. We actually have a third-party partner that actually does the underwriting and does the collections and manages that whole thing. But we've just made it super easy and sort of in line with the renting experience for renters to be able to do this.
Understood. And then what are some of the results that you're seeing in the early days of product on the market? What are the landlords saying? What are the renters saying? Just love to kind of hear some of the traction that you've had so far.
Yeah, we're beta testing this to make sure we get the product right. So we've introduced it to a few select people, and the way we select them today is we actually will only offer these features to people that have good on-time payment history on our platform. So we built a system called Rent Cred Rewards, and Rent Cred Rewards unlocks these features for you if you have an on-time payment history with us.
How long of a payment history are you looking for before that
So
unlocks?
these rewards have different levels you got to hit, right? So when you've got 3 on-time payments through us, we actually can help improve your credit by starting to report your on-time payment history to the credit bureaus. So that
very cool.
A slight boost with your credit score. And then when you've got 6 on-time payments, you unlock the financial tools, right? So the financial tools include the Rent Cred loan, which you can borrow up to $500 of emergency cash and pay it back over a 6-week period with no interest, just a one-time transaction fee. And that gives you a little bit of flexibility if you had an unexpected vet bill or car bill or something like that. You just need an extra $500. And then you can sign up for the Rent Cred Float feature, which is the subscription-based flexible payments product. And so, we see a larger percentage of people that are opting into the flexible payments, and I'd say about 5% of renters take advantage of the Rent Cred loan feature. But in the small test group that we have got sort of in the beta phase of this for the float program, we're actually seeing an 18% take rate on this. So it matches the data that we collected from our surveys before we decided to build this feature.
So if you pay it back within 6 weeks, no interest accrued, just the one-time transaction fee to unlock the $500 up front. Yeah, I could see that being very helpful, especially, flat tire, got a $300 repair bill and tow bill that you need to pay for. Totally. And you're good to pay for it, but you just don't have access to that capital for 2 weeks. And you're stuck in a weird spot.
Yeah. And you could, the credit cards are expensive.
What, like 24%?
24%. And on our platform, landlords don't want to pay those credit card fees, so they have to pay that fee. About payday loans; those are kind of predatory. Those aren't necessarily the right way to go. So
yeah, when you say kind of, that's being nice.
Right. Yeah. I just feel like this is something that just makes takes the stress off, right? And for landlords too, it takes the stress off. They know they're going to get paid on time when someone's subscribed for this program. They've already got a good on-time payment history. They just need the flexibility to pay on a schedule that works better for them.
So obviously we've connected prior, and I've been thinking about this. Do you have any data on understanding how many more potential renters this unlocks for landlords? Because, like we've said, we can't plan for unforeseen circumstances. But there's got to be a world of people that just had a string of bad luck that then turn them into bad renters. But in reality, if they had a platform like yours, they'd be just fine. They might have a blip on the radar here and there, but if you're there to kind of bridge that gap, they're actually phenomenal renters that just had, a bad run of it. Do you know, like, have you had any inklings as to how many more potential tenants this can help create for landlords that are trying to fill their properties?
That's a really, really good question. I think that when you offer people a more flexible way to pay rent, I think you'll get a lot more takers than you even think. You're absolutely right. And this is why this opened our eyes up during COVID. It's like people just lost their jobs, right?
Yeah.
And they're great people, and they just had a disruption that they just weren't expecting. So stuff happens that you can't control. And that's our value proposition to everybody, right? Stuff happens that you can't control, and we can be there to help bridge the financial gap. In terms of percentage, I don't have any hard data. I do believe it's going to be at least 20% of our renter base. But as rent becomes a larger and larger percentage of your monthly income, people might just decide, you know what, for $20, I'll do this. I can pay on the 5th and the 20th. That works way better for me.
It reminds me of PMI when you buy a house, right? When you can't put the 20% down,
Right.
you pay a little bit extra to get into the house. And then one day, hopefully you can get out of the PMI by showing them your new financials and your credibility and your track record. I could see something like that for this space, right? Where you're helping people kind of build up that track record. You have the data, you can track everything that they're doing, and it gives them the ability to then go out and potentially pursue their next house, maybe even just showing them they have the ability to do it. And on that front, like, have you ever explored the idea of helping people kind of plan for moving into a home at some point? Are there any financial tools that you're offering for people that may be living in an apartment but also want to have a stretch goal of getting enough money saved up for a down payment of a house down in the future?
So I think you're reading my mind a little bit here, and that's because of the business that you're in, right? You talk to entrepreneurs all the time, but once you build a relationship with someone and you're helping them, and they trust you with some of their financial lives, I think it's not only a big responsibility, but it's a big opportunity, right? So I actually have had conversations. I think this is further down the road,
Sure.
but I've had conversations with there's a couple of partners that we've talked to that are like, if people raise their hand they want to buy a house in the next year, 2 years, there are incentive programs, and we can do cashback programs. We can do cash savings programs. We can do a lot of things to actually help get people into.
And you can partner with policymakers too, to help people get in.
I mean, I think it's a very interesting part of what I believe we have a responsibility to do for tenants, because people do want to buy houses, and people are going to be renting longer. But if we can be in a position to help them, we certainly will do it. We certainly will do it.
It's very cool to think about the opportunities. Like you said, build the trust first, build the community, build the loyalty, and then figure out other ways to make tangible impacts to the community of people that are now your customers. I love it.
Yeah.
I want to shift focus a little bit. You've obviously got a lot of experience in building companies, whether it's your own or part of someone else's startup that you've joined. Part of this too is I hope that entrepreneurs are finding these interviews helpful as well. Would love to just kind of learn or hear a little bit more about the highs and lows that you've experienced so far as you've been building PayRent.
Yeah, well, starting something from ground zero is way different than joining a company that's got 20, 30, 40, $50 million in revenue. I can tell you that right now. You are flying really low to the ground. I think it takes a real leap of faith to step out. And I see this all the time. I'm a big fan of Sarah Blakely, and she's on LinkedIn, and she's always putting stuff out there. And
that's the founder of Spanx, right?
The founder of Spanx.
Yeah.
And I think her experience is like everyone else's, right? For a few years, it is just you and only you. And maybe there's a few people that believe in you and what you're doing, but for the most part, nobody gets it. If you're trying to do something that's new or revolutionary, nobody gets it. And so, you feel like you're taking crazy pills for quite a while. And then you get a little bit of market validation and you're like, oh, okay, I think we're onto something here. But it still doesn't feel the same when you're really just trying to like grind this thing out in the first 2, 3, 4 years and find that product market fit and find your customer base. And it's a very different deal, and you have to be scrappy. You have to figure out how to make do with a whole lot less. It's kind of I love the challenge of it. But I can't say that every single day I'm feeling like a winner.
Yeah, no, when I was doing my startup, I joked to my friends that worked in corporate. I wake up every day and ask myself, do I still want to do this? And every day it was a yes, I still do. And that's kind of was, you start your day with that affirmation that it's still what you want to be building and that you're passionate about it. I totally get it.
Yeah, for me, it is an exercise in faith for me. It's like an exercise, not religious faith,
Yeah.
but it's an exercise in creating something that doesn't exist out of nothing, out of your mind and out of your desire. It's like, it's a very challenging thing to do, which is why a lot of folks don't do it. And I know you've done it a few times too, right? How many companies have you started?
So I joined an organization called Generator as like employee number 12 or 13. And when I stepped down, they were at employee 60. And now today they're at like employee 180. So that was a startup accelerator slash free accelerator program. Now it's ballooned into something super crazy, but similar to you, joined that after they had gotten their start. And then I did my own startup, bootstrapped that for 5 years. And then now Tundra Ventures that I'm a part of, that's I guess my second official startup. Because when you're starting a brand new fund, you do the same things that a founder does. You have to convince
Absolutely.
people that your wild ideas are worth their time and money to invest in it and let us grow it. So second time through, third time if I consider the learnings that I have at Generator. So yeah, learn more every time I do it, but still very humbled every day too.
Yeah, and like what you said, when you get up in the morning, you're like, do I still want to do this? There are things that happen that you're like, am I doing the right thing? Am I making the right decision? And I'm not just talking about, financially or otherwise, but you're trying to gather the data that you can to make the best decision you can. And frankly, it's impossible to know all the facts. So you've got some mentors, like I'm sure you had mentors and stuff, but I've got some co-investors and some other people that are a part of this business that can kind of help me to make sure I don't make the wrong decision. But at the end of the day, it's a different ball game for everybody,
Absolutely. I want to make sure that I hit these 2 points. One is if people want to get a hold of you or learn more about the solution as a renter or as a landlord, how can people find you?
Yeah, just go to payrent.com. It's pretty straightforward. We got a button there to set up a demo. We actually, the way we've constructed our service plans, because it is a software product, you can sign up for free on our lowest end plan, and you can just pay as you go, try it out. Then, of course, if you want to unlock some additional features, you'll have to pay the software subscription. But it's easy to find us because the name's very straightforward. If you want to schedule a demo, click the button. If you want to contact us, you can always just reach out to me, C. Van Putten at payrent.com, or go to support.com at payrent.com. We're very accessible. We've got chat, phone, email, demo schedules. We got everything. We want to talk to customers, even people that don't know whether this is the right fit for their particular business.
Sure.
We still want to learn, right? We still want to talk to people.
I do have a question. Do you foresee offering this just straight to renters and then you act as the payer for that renter, even if that landlord doesn't use your services? I could see that as a pretty good opportunity.
It is a very good opportunity. We didn't start there because the landlords really hold the keys, right? And so we sell to landlords today, but we hope to make fans out of tenants, right? So on our platform, they have a payment history. They've unlocked some benefits like credit reporting and loans and flexible payments. Once they have those things unlocked and we're providing that value for them, there's no reason why they couldn't go to their next landlord and say,
Yeah.
"Hey, do you take PayRent?
Here's my Carfax.
Yeah, here's my Carfax. Do
Yeah.
you take PayRent?
Yeah.
And I want to keep my PayRent account because of these benefits. Would you sign up?"
Yeah.
And probably,
Yeah. I like
landlord,
that. I like that.
landlords would consider it.
Well, I appreciate that extra insight. Yeah, I think I think that's a great way to be virally accepted by other people that might not have heard of you or know what you're about on the landlord side.
Yeah.
What are some big milestones you're tracking for the rest of 2023? We're already a third of the way through or so. It's kind of crazy to think about, but would
Yeah.
love to kind of hear anything that people should keep an eye out for. Are you breaking into new markets, or I guess anything that you think is worth mentioning here?
I think that we're excited about a couple of things. Number one, I think when you're dealing with small and medium sized landlords, it's a challenge to find them from a marketing standpoint.
Sure.
So that's been a challenge as we've grown. You have to make sure you watch your spend, and your customer acquisition cost needs to be on point in order for that all to make sense. But more recently, I'm really excited about a couple of partnerships that we've signed. So we are signed up with a company called Rent Manager, which is a full-fledged property management platform that includes, payouts to property owners. It's a very sophisticated platform. Anyway, we're their payments partner. So that's a new exposure for us. We're getting larger clients coming on board than the folks we sign up from the web. And we signed an exclusive partnership with a utility billing company in Southern California. Once again, it may surprise you and maybe surprise the people that are listening to this, that people are still paying with checks, cash, and don't have any digital payment solution in this space. It's a very large percentage. So this utility billing company has 500,000 doors that they send utility bills to and rent.
That's expensive.
Yeah, and they got no online payment solution. So we partnered with them to be their online payments provider. They're in the mobile home space. So they present consolidated bills to the mobile home renters, right? Utility bill plus rent. And so we're super excited about that opportunity because I think it's just going to accelerate our customer acquisition and accelerate the number of doors we're going to be able to serve in the next 24 months.
I love it. What are the types of folks that you would like to hopefully have hear this episode and reach out to you? What's the makeup of the type of person you're trying to get in contact with?
Yeah, that's a great question. It's funny. My ideal customer isn't necessarily a demographic. My ideal customer is someone with a specific bias for wanting to provide, really good features for their tenants, right? So someone that just cares about collecting rent and doesn't really care about their tenants very much. That's not a customer.
You want to find good partners that appreciate renter experience.
Renter experience and knows that everybody in this equation is a human being and they all have needs. And so if people say, hey, if I take care of my renters take care of me, and that's absolutely 100% true. We have customers, 60, 100 units, 200 units, and they want to make sure that their renters are good, because if their renters are good, they're good. Yeah. And that's the person that we want to talk to. We don't want to really talk to someone that doesn't understand that dynamic and doesn't care about that dynamic. And frankly, it's usually the smaller landlords that feel that way. And that's really why we've targeted that audience.
All righty. Well, Carlton, it was a pleasure to talk to you more about what you're building. I know it's a huge unmet need, as being a former renter myself, and who knows, maybe down the road I'll need to rent again. I just know how archaic the system is,
Yeah.
and like you said, fragmented. You can go to 10 different apartments within a 1 mile radius, and they all have 10 different platforms they're using for all sorts of different things. So huge opportunity to provide a more streamlined and more user-friendly experience for both sides. So if you are a potential landlord or renter, or investor or strategic person that might be interested in learning more, please do reach out to Carlton. Check out their website, payrent.com. Any last words?
No, I just appreciate the opportunity, and very quickly you become one of my favorite people because you give a shit. You have
I
to cut
do.
that out.
I
You
do.
probably have
No,
to cut that
hey,
out.
look, I enjoy seeing people trying to build things that are going to help others. At the end of the day, when I look back on my career in this space, I want to be able to proudly say that I helped really cool companies help people just live,
Better
right?
lives.
Yeah,
Just live better lives.
live
Yeah.
comfortably, live happier, live healthier. Anything, because it's hard enough as it is. The game of life is hard.
Yeah.
People that are trying to do things to make it easier, I'm all about promoting and helping. So I appreciate
Well,
you
awesome. I
taking the time to
appreciate
make
that.
that happen. Yeah, absolutely. Well, we're gonna end it here. Thanks for joining us for another episode of the Founders Cut.